Hi, this is Tony and Lati Casa Esmeralda, and today, as part 3 of the Adriatic Pasta Lucan that I have been working on, my guest arrived, and I actually had to stop the video, but I wanted to show you the finishing product, and I just go over the basic part of making and finishing off the pasta to the cooking stage. So we are now at the cooking stage, and I just do a little of a back review exactly of what I have done here. I'm getting the video a bit bigger. Okay, so there we are, getting a nice view of everything. So you have your ravioli dough, and you have you need 2 sheets. So you make 2 sheets of the ravioli dough, and you roll the dough out on one part here. So you add a little bit of flour, you maybe add a little bit of salt to the bottom so it doesn't stick. And then you have one big sheet here, and you take your Sicilian sausage mix of beans, and you add that. So you take one big wooden spoon and you add that to your to the top of your dough, so you get like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, which will feed a whole entire family of 4 quite easily. And then you put on top of that your second sheet. You use your second sheet of dough, you put it on top, and then you use the wooden spoon or you use a fork and you press. So you take your hand and you press it down, so you get the Google balls on the top. So you press it down, press, 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 press. So you keep pressing it down, and you use any kitchen tool you have. You can use a fork, you can use a wooden spoon, and you keep pressing it down, and you crease everything so it comes nicely together. I didn't this time crease it, but I ended up having leftover for my guest, and I froze it. But these are now thawing out, and you can use a fork still again, so they don't come apart. But I'm not too worried. I'm starving right now, and I'm gonna cook up the last of these Adriatic Lucan raviolis, which I'm really happy to do right now because I am totally starving. So, put some gas on here. So what you want to do is, so they don't stick, maybe just add a little bit of salt. And a little bit of olive oil, which I've done actually earlier. Never hurts to add a little bit more of my olive oil. 2 more months, I get extra virgin olive oil here, and an unlimited supply of cooking oil all year round, which is great. And just a little bit of water, just so you fill the bottom a little bit. So the raviolis are cooking sort of in an oilless type water. Well, there's several ways you can cook, like potatoes or doughs or pastas. And when I'm cooking my raviolis, this is one way I like to cook it, so they don't stick to the bottom of the pan. And then you just add it and get the heat up and add your raviolis. And I have an endless amount of supply of Pomadori tomatoes this year. So in the fridge, I have pressed out some Pomadori sauce in a big bowl, which I will bring out in a second. And I'm just going to take a cup of it long as your Pomadori sauce or your tomato sauce stays cold. If you take the tomato or the Pomadori from a controlled temperature state and you take it in and out of the fridge, it's going to get bad. No doubt. So if you take tomato sauce in and out of the fridge a dozen times, it's going to get bad. But as long as you leave it in, like say like a quarter cup to a good half liter, so a half a cup of olive oil to like about 1 liter of tomato sauce, it's not going to get bad. So this is my finished product, which is here, and I use that in the juicing machine, which is that one there. And we're cooking the raviolis up right now. And I'm just going to give this a little try. So I added just a little bit of garden herbs to this, and it's been sitting, so every day I just make a little more tomato sauce in the machine, and then I keep adding the tomato sauce and I let the oil sit in there, and that's and the oil and the herbs, they just kind of marry together. So you can add whatever you want to your fresh tomato sauce. You don't need like if you have the garden and the Pomadori and you have the juicer, you don't really need to really cook it up because it's fresh. Best tomato sauce in the world when it's fresh. So I'm going to put that there. I'm going to get my plate ready here. So my raviolis are cooking up. And actually what I just thought, because I put these guys in the freezer, they will not really come apart as in the first run when the dough is fresh. So the longer the dough actually sits in the fridge, if you let the dough sit overnight in the fridge, so you make the dough one day and then the next day you make the raviolis, the dough, the pasta will be in a lot better state. And this is the thing. So last week I went to Pasticci and I was selling some of my chicken eggs. I was walking up and down the alley and there was an old lady there and she says, well, I want to make a ravioli, you know, like in Italian. And you know, so I thought, well, I have eggs, right? And then she was like, how many eggs you got? I said, I got a whole bunch of eggs for my chickens here. And then she said, Veni, she said, come on inside, right? So the whole afternoon I was at her house and I watched her make these raviolis. She doesn't have a TV, she has one light in the kitchen, one light in the back room where she sleeps, and that's it. And she's lived there for like 50 years that way. So this is like an area where I live, and people here live that way. They live very simple. So there's no TV, she's just had a small radio, and she has a big firewood oven which she cooks out of all the time. She doesn't use any type of oven or anything. It's always out of the firewood oven in her house, and she cooks out of that, and she enjoys living that way. But the food that some of these people cook is absolutely delicious. You cannot, out of any circumstance, ignore classic Italian cooking cooked by some old grandma. Anyways, so kind of got a little high heat going here. What you want to do is so they don't stick. If I had at one time my wool pot was non-stick, but it's still titanium, which is really good to cook out of. I love cooking out of this titanium pot. It's the most safest way of cooking. So I really enjoy this wool pot from Germany, but it's it's gone past the non-stick stage. I've had it now for about 3 years. Supposedly wool does guarantee their pots. So I just like cooking out of it. So I'm not going to give this pot up for anything. And it's the handles have never come off of it or anything like that. So on the side, maybe I'll make some cucumber Adriatic. Right now, my guest was here for 5 nights. Pretty nice gentleman. Since I'm out here in nature, so when you come here, basically you can do whatever you want out in nature. There's nobody really around or anything like that. So he said he had a really nice time. He enjoyed the food, because when you have fresh food all the time, the cooking and the food is just absolutely delicious. If you have your own garden, you can plant your own garden, right? And you can grow your own vegetables for next to nothing, for a few dollars. And then you can have your own food, and you can make like this, like you can make your own pasta just from a bag of flour, some garden herbs, and some chicken eggs. There's nothing like that in the world, because, you know, it's not like you're going to a supermarket and you buy pasta. I have pasta here in the cabinet that I buy at the supermarket. But this type of pasta that you can make yourself, it's very simple to make, but it does require work. I don't have a pasta making machine. I know there is one in my house in Canada, but not at the present time, and I don't think I'll get a pasta machine. So, you know, there are several ways you can make pasta, and I do not have a rolling pin, so I just used a mason jar, which took me a little bit longer. So it took me about a good 10 minutes longer with the mason jar to roll the dough out. And this dough, when you add when I had this, when you had the 2 cups of large flour to 2 cups of the type 00 farina flour to this, the Italian flour, and the 4 eggs, this dough is very stiff and tough. So you're going to have a workout. It's not like making bread dough and after a while it gets soft. It kind of stays hard, and that's what you want it to stay hard, because when you're cooking it now in a high temperature and you're trying to keep it al dente, you don't want it to fall apart. If the dough becomes soft like a bread dough, what will happen is you end up with sort of like this Chinese noodle thing with these mushy type of Chinese noodles, and you don't want that in a pasta. That's not a pasta, that's a Chinese noodle. So, okay. So this is great also too. I don't normally like to use my freezer at all. My freezer has basically been empty now for about a year and a half. Because I've found ways since I started growing my own food, I don't need to freeze foods anymore. But this is just one exception in my life. I try to live a more natural, closest to nature life as possible, and this is just one way of some fast food cooking. So raviolis are great always. You can put these in the freezer, as I said before, but I don't really like putting any type of food in the freezer. I like having it fresh. But then this is something you just come home and you kind of like let them thaw out a bit, or like you kind of put some cookie sheet in between them, and then you wrap them up tightly in a plastic bag, and then you just pull them apart, and then you just do the little olive oil and a little bit of water in there, and you kind of let it sit and simmer and marry. And then you just add a little bit of your tomato sauce that you've made the other day, or this morning or yesterday. And you get a knife. And my Italian guest said it tasted just like his grandmother's recipe. So my heart sunk. He said it was delicious. So what I'm going to do here, there's these raviolis. Just this one. I'm going to give this a try again. This was absolutely delicious. We had this with some of the cucumber Adriatic the other day and some Italian red wine. Tastes even better than the other day. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So I'm going to open this up a bit and then you guys can take a look at this mushy type of recipe. But this is looks absolutely delicious. And so this is the finishing product. You can add some more herbs to it. You can add some more garlic. You can add some more olive oil. I put the olive oil already in the tomato sauce. And then also you can add a little red peppers and things like that, which I did forget. So you can add red pepper to this with the tomatoes and the garden herbs and the onions and the garlic. And this is absolutely just fabulous. Delicious. Delicious homemade ravioli pasta right here in South Italy. So that's what that looks like. Absolutely delicious. Or I'm gonna kind of put it like right up here, and then you guys can, yeah, that looks actually better. So that's what that looks like. Just good old-fashioned grandma style homemade Italian ravioli. And here in this region area we do cook with beans and the Sicilian sausage, which makes it the Lucan style. There are several different regions in Italy which they cook a different way of ravioli. So here it is. Okay. So I hope you like my videos. Please do like and subscribe. It's Tony and Lati Casa Esmeralda. Do hit that like button below. If you'd like to send me a question or a message, please do so. I'm on Facebook or here on YouTube. And as I said, it's Tony and Lati Casa Esmeralda. And thank you very much for those who have liked and subscribed. And if you have not liked and subscribed, please hit that like button and subscribe. And I appreciate all the comments and all the questions, and I will write back to you. And as I said, I've had guests here now for 2 months, all summer long. It's been a really nice summer. It's now September end 2018, and I'm really looking forward to autumn and getting some wood chopping. And there will be more videos coming up actually this week on the fall vegetables and also at 90 days of growing. So take care and bye for now.